Hoorah! I am Dr. Minister Vermont Prince for the Om Institute, Church of Christ Consciousness for Worldwide Hope. This is going to be a banger, people. It's going to be a banger. You're going to like this. I'm going to get into some real deep metaphysics with this. But first, let me explain a few things that I may not have clarified in past videos. I'm not personally talking about Arsonal. I'm not personally talking about Cassidy, or personally talking about Philadelphia, or personally talking about the lockdown event, or personally talking about URL, or the Face Off, or Champion, or J Black, or Uncle Ra, or Knowledge, or anybody. I'm not personally talking about anyone. What I do is metaphysically, advanced metaphysically, express and explain things. So what I'm saying is the universe, or God, or the creator, or source, or, you know, your higher power, or cosmic mind, or whatever it is you believe in, that's the driving force behind life being sustained and being brought here and brought to be. That force has an agenda for everybody. And our lives, everything we do, our height, weight, what we eat, how we sit, how we stand, how we walk, talk, breathe, rest, sleep, dance, our favorite color, our favorite number, the number of siblings we have, everything is a hidden code and a message. Some things are more blatant than others. Some things are more hidden. You have to decode them. So we are just actors, unbeknownst, in a script. We are figments of our own imagination in a dream. So when I break stuff down, that's what I'm saying. If I say something like somebody's name and a guy relates to a feminine, I'm not saying he's feminine. What I'm saying is the universe is communicating a certain message through this person. So it's for no one to be offended. If you're being used as a vehicle, it's not your fault, and there's no slander or disrespect to you. Now, with that, this. I'm going to get into it. This battle was about Cassidy versus Arsonal. It took place in Philadelphia. Cassidy is from Philadelphia, so it was a home court advantage battle. Now, I'm going to explain to you what this battle really was about, according to the metaphysics, not who set it up. The universe's message for humanity as a whole is a message to all of us, because the message is designed to lead us somewhere. There's a destination for all of this. Just like if you're in a movie, there's a plot, theme, character setting. There's a finale. At the end of the movie, it's supposed to be a beginning, middle, and end, and it leads to something. So all of this we're doing leads to something. Not individually, collectively, it leads to something. Cassidy represents the old generation, the old way. Arsonal represents the new generation, or the new way. Cassidy has a hard time adapting, just like most of the people in this new generation. They have a very hard time adapting. Cassidy is considered a GOAT, or he calls himself the GOAT. GOAT means greatest of all time. Arsonal is also a GOAT. Now, it's weird that it could be a bunch of GOATs, because there's going to be a bunch of greatest of all times, but that's how it goes nowadays. Before, it wasn't like that. That's part of the adaptation that I'm talking about. Just like before, you had one best friend. Now you can have 5 best friends. Like, best means the highest, the number one. But it doesn't work like that anymore. So, anyway, Cassidy. He's stuck in a time warp. And I'm not saying this in general. I'm saying he represents metaphysically the world that we live in, where generations, basically those who thrived in the 80s and the 90s, that generation, they probably were born in the 70s. Some of them may be even the 60s, but mostly the 70s. So their day was the 80s, the mid 80s, probably the early 80s to the mid 80s to the 90s. And they have a hard time letting go of that golden era of life. It wasn't just music, it's everything. The culture, the dress code, everything. Because hip-hop is everything. The drug culture, the way, you know, we talked, walked, everything. This he represents that mentality that doesn't want to let go in progress. He represents the new way that wants to be themselves, and he represents the evolution of humanity. He represents those who don't want to adapt and change and get with the times. Now, if you look at them carefully, boom, what you will see is their dress code is totally different. Basically opposites. He has his hat to the front. He had a bandana, he has a hat. Two different things, way different. His hair is out, his hair is covered. They both have some, and that's what's going on with the world, because the older generation, or the old school generation, so to speak, they are doing things. They're just doing it totally different, and it doesn't work in this era. He has his head totally covered. He has his hair out. He has a Caesar. He has locks. He has a t-shirt on. He has a sweatshirt on, or a sweat hood on. He has something on his head. So does he, as far as the hood go. But his hood is attached to the sweatshirt. His is not attached. His, as you can see, his arms is out. His is covered. His arms are almost closed, but his arms they're open. His arms are, he has right over left. He's cupping. One hand's cuffing the other. That's the difference. He's looking at him. He's looking down. He's looking at him. He's not looking at him. This is the mentality that's going on right now. The thing is, on this planet, there is a mentality that there are large numbers of people from certain eras that don't want to adapt. They don't want to get with the computer technology age. They want to get with the certain games and certain apps and certain procedures of doing things. They want to stay. They still want to write letters and put them in the mail and mail them unnecessarily. They don't want to send an email, even if they can. They don't want to text. They still want to call you on the phone. A lot of people don't want to adapt. This thing, if you know about this battle, if you don't know about this battle, you have to do some research and look into it. But the thing with him is, he is losing terribly. He was known as one time as possibly the greatest, one of the greatest battle rappers. But right now, he is the worst battle rapper. And why is this? Because he doesn't want to adapt. It's an adapt or die situation. Now I'm gonna show you a bunch of more contrasts. You see how he looks little, he's looking big. Look how slim he looks. Look how healthy he looks. When you look at like things like the hip hop industry and other industries, as far as like cinema and things of that nature, what do you see? The people are doing much better now. Before, a person would have 3 albums out and barely have any money. They might look like they have money in their videos or on their album cover, but they'd be broke. They will, by the 3rd album, they'll actually see money. Whereas now, you get a rapper come out, they'll have 1 mixtape and be rich. For real. Really rich. Not owing anybody anything. Before, you had to sign to a label. Now you could be independent. There's a lot of different things. People are getting better movie deals. They're getting better endorsement deals. They're getting all kinds of things that this generation didn't get. But this generation, his thing is bars are back. Bars, when we think of bars, we know that in slang term, we're talking about rap lines. But it also is known for drinking and being drunk. Bars. You go there, you get drunk. Or you drink and get nice, get tipsy. That's a mentality, because his behavior is kind of drunk and tipsy in its own way. It's not sober-minded, metaphorically speaking. But also, bars is known for prison. He's in a prison of his own mind because he doesn't want to adapt to the new way. He wants to try to force everybody to do it his way, and that's what most of the older generation does. They try to force things to stay the same, and it's not going to happen. When you look at his shirt, it says disrespectful on the shirt, right? Yeah. And his has a barcode. That's the generation right now. They're disrespectful toward the older generation, because the older generation is not letting them do them. It's not that they are just naturally disrespectful. They're disrespectful because they want to be recognized as their own. When you can't respect somebody who doesn't respect you back. This generation doesn't allow this generation to be the next. They don't want to pass the torch. So they feel like they need to be disrespectful. And it's coming across like that. He has a barcode on his shirt. Bars his back. Barcode. Our barcodes are something that's used on items that are for sale. He's disrespectful, and he has a thing that says for sale. When you think about it, that's a mentality, being for sale. Meaning playing by the rules. That's what, not for sale like you sold out or somebody, whatever, but it's more that you're playing by the rules. Like in the old ways, you couldn't, you had to be married to one person. You couldn't, polygamy always existed, but now it's like flourishing outside of traditional places. Before, snitching was a thing. You couldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? It was a big deal to snitch. Now you can do that and get away with it. Before, being a panhandler or something like that was looked down upon, but now it's not. Before, being transgender or homosexual was looked down upon, but now it's not. Or being in the same sex relationships is not. This is the future. They don't want the future. They want things to be generic and stuck in the time warp and in a certain type of way. Now, if you look at this guy behind him, who's also from Philadelphia, also his age, what is he doing? He has the same hat pointed frontwards, right? But he has a hoodie on like him. He also has his arm folded. Not like him, but not like him either. It's a middle ground. His arms are stiff. His arms are stiff. But they're folded. They're folded. What he has learned to do is adapt somewhat. That's why this guy right here, Gilly the Kid, is really, really relevant now. Because he's learning how to adapt somewhat. He's not selling out, but he's adapting. Even with the height difference, you see the evolution, the idea of evolution. Now, you see how stiff he still looks? And he's turning away. He's looking at the crowd trying to, and if you look at his hat, it's backwards. But it's not all the way backwards. It's to the side. That's the way that we used to wear our hat once upon a time. And that's going back to something else. See his hat sideways? The Flavor Flav, if you remember that. The Flavor Flav. Whereas he still has the same thing going on. That's the big difference. He keeps trying to do things, but based on an old way, and it's not working. Right here, he's blowing smoke in his face. Smoke nowadays is a slang terminology for problems. Like they say, you want smoke. That means, do you want problems with me? Do you want to have drama? Do you want violence? Do you want some type of confrontation? That's pretty much what it means. And he's blowing smoke in his face. So it's kind of saying, I want smoke with you. And it's just that serious and that disrespectful. But this is where the world... then there's one more thing that needs to be also looked at. This one right here. If you look at this, right? He still has on the same shirt. He's taking his hoodie off. So now he has a t-shirt, but it's a totally different color. It's white. And then he takes his bandana off and his hair is out. See, he adapted, but not like him. He has more than one way of being. He has one way of being the whole time. This is what's going on this planet right now. This is why the world is at a standstill. Like when you see somebody like Donald Trump and he comes along and he says, make America great again. That means he wants to take you back to some old way of doing things. We shouldn't be going back. We should be going forward. We should not be going back. We should be going forward. That's what's going on. The world is stuck at a place right now, and it has a lot to do with sexuality, because people from this era are stuck on a certain way that sex has to be perceived and interfaced with. This generation is opening up a lot of doors. So that's what this battle really represents. It represents frigidity or rigid structure versus fluent. It represents the past that won't evolve versus the future. That's what this whole battle was about. And that's what the ultimate message to the universe is. We have to adapt. The older people, y'all have to adapt. We have to adapt, or else it's just over for us. It's over for the world. So remember, I'm not your average priest. It's not your grandma's religion. I might not like you, but I love you. 1080 is the love frequency. It's what we all strive to reach. Jesus Christ was a woman that came to teach that 1080 is the love frequency. Therefore, you must EYS, embrace your sexuality, on Chigaga, because sex is the gateway to God or source. Rahu.